Hello, I'm Linda Nicholls, and one of the primary dedications of my life is breath work. And, breath and breathing have been fascinating for me as long as I can remember. As a child, I frequently experienced intense attacks of asthma, and I felt the terror over and over again of not being able to breathe. I recall being whisked off to the hospital or a doctor. And in those days, I was given injections of adrenaline. My original terror of not being able to breathe was then compounded by feeling like I was choking on my heart, which was a side effect of the adrenaline. And, these days, as I reflect on my fascination, it seems I have some kind of karmic relationship with breath and breathing. My grandmother, my mother's mother, went into a tuberculosis sanitarium when my mother was only 6 months old, and she died there. My mother had tuberculosis twice, once before I was born, and then again when she was in a TB sanitarium for more than a year when I was young. I think I was maybe before I was 10 years old. Um, she died of COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. My father died of lung cancer in his early 70s, when he was several years younger than I am now. And, although I apparently have lung damage from being asthmatic, it's been decades since I've had anything even close to an asthma attack. I was a marathon runner, an avid squash player, and did all kinds of other athletics when I was in my 20s, between my 20s and my 40s, and even into my 50s. And in my 30s, when I was introduced to conscious breath work for my own personal development, I woke up to its astounding healing potential. And now, for the past almost 40 years, I've been facilitating breath and body work for others with remarkable, gratifying outcomes. And, it's amazing to me how common it is to take our breathing for granted, and how the phenomenal healing, enlivening, integrating, harmonizing, regulating, and all round life enhancing capacity of our breath is overlooked. It's free, it's right under our nose, and yet still overlooked. Our life actually begins with our first inhalation and comes to an end with our final exhalation. We can live for quite a long time, actually, without food or water, but only for a few minutes without our breath. When we're asleep or unconscious, our body breathes for us automatically. However, unlike other life-sustaining functions in our body, we also have conscious choice over how we breathe. We can choose the depth of our breath, the rate of our breath, the pattern of our breathing. Our breath is the thread that weaves our soul with our body. Our breath interacts with the embodied experience of our emotions and with the multiple dimensions of being alive. And throughout the centuries, hundreds of breathing techniques have been mastered for a vast variety of purposes to support our physical, our emotional, our psychological, and our spiritual wholeness. There's so much to discover and so much to learn about making the most of this essential human freedom. And I'll share one line borrowed from Mary Oliver that struck a chord with me. It's from her poem, "Have You Ever Tried to Enter the Long Black Branches?" And my apology to Mary for using just one line for now. Mary says, "Listen. Are you breathing just a little and calling it a life?" And another one from Rumi that I really like. "There's one way of breathing that's shameful and constricted. And then there's another way, a breath of love that takes you all the way to infinity." And a lot of my work and my dedication to life is for us to wake up from the often shameful and constricted breath that we're in, and to use our breath consciously to embrace the fullness of our life.